Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Welcome to another socially distant episode of the Creative Differences Podcast. I'm Dallas, and I think you should go look up what H.P. Lovecraft named his cat.
Dallas!
Yes, Gabby.
Oh. I'm Gabby, and look that up at your own risk, man.
I'm Colin, and I think Demi hates me.
And I'm Demi, and I don't hate him. I just would like him to speak more. And welcome to our Comic-Con at Home recap at home. Today we will be talking about some of the panels that we enjoyed or were interested in during Comic-Con this past weekend.
Yep, at home.
I feel like Comic-Con's always at home for us because we never go. Like, I feel like this didn't really change much, except for, like, screaming people.
It didn't change much for us, but we got to actually watch the panels
Yeah.
instead of hearing about it from other people.
Yeah, it changed things for
exactly.
like people who have money and time.
The point is it was at home, and we are at home as we do this recap.
Okay, this is turning into that SpongeBob episode where everything's happening at night. We gotta stop doing that.
At night.
At night.
At home.
Our bed in the morning.
Celebrities' houses. At night.
All right. So
What is that?
That was Fresh Prince.
Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Because we have a few panels to go over today. Not all of them, because Comic-Con has a lot of panels, even from home. So
Yep.
if you want to look those up, feel free to. But we're just going to talk about a few of them.
Yeah.
So first thing on our list is the Disney Plus content. There were like 3 different panels for Disney Plus, but I'm just going to put them all under one
Disney Plus.
category.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're all going to be on Disney Plus. So the first thing is that National Geographic is releasing its first scripted series called The Right Stuff, based on Tom Wolfe's nonfiction novel about the early days of the U.S. space program and the Mercury 7, America's first astronauts. And it's being produced by Leo DiCaprio. It's going to be releasing this fall. Each episode will feature a mission and takes place in 1958. There was a clip that was shown during the panel, and the show stars Patrick J. Adams, Jake McDorman, Colin O'Donoghue, who I love from Once Upon a Time, and James Lafferty, who I love from One Tree Hill, and Zora Zahetner, who I loved on Heroes, and a bunch of other actors who I didn't want to write down because there were like 12 names.
Fair.
I wonder if they're going to cover how the only reason we have a space program is because Nazis.
I mean, they might.
I hope they do. I feel like that's significant. No one talks about it.
I mean, it's National Geographic. They might talk about it.
Yeah, I feel like they'll talk about it.
I hope so.
People talk
I
about
don't
it.
know. I've seen a lot of like space content like based around this era. There's so much of it.
Yeah.
And I guess Hollywood just does not get tired of showing it for some
They
reason.
really don't. They're like, ooh, the 50s? Space? I'm all in.
Let's go. I hope.
But it's never from a different perspective either, except for like Hidden Figures. It's always from the same perspective.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I'm like, I wonder if they're going to cover Nazis this time, because that's one of the, I mean, it's the reason Russia and America have space programs.
I did like, oh my gosh, Astronaut Wives Club. I did like that show though. That was fun. Because that was less about the astronauts and more about like what their wives were going through, you know, because your husband might possibly die. And also they were basically like America's first legitimate celebrities where like paparazzi were following them around and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
So that show was
That's
pretty
intense.
interesting. But once again, we're just going to follow these 7 dudes as they prepare to go to space. The clip was pretty good though. I liked the fact that they used Johnny Be Good. I love that song.
Oh, ooh.
Next up is Phineas and Ferb, the movie Candace Against the Universe, which follows Phineas and Ferb on a mission to rescue Candace after she's abducted by aliens while their sister, unbeknownst to them, has found a utopia on a far-off planet free from pesky little brothers.
All right.
The movie will be releasing August 28th. The cast and creators teased what to expect from the movie, including a duet between Doofenshmirtz and Isabella, and a meta moment involving creators Dan Povenmire and Jeff Marsh. They also discussed what it was like to come back to these characters and the world after years away, and they showed a clip from the first musical number called Such a Beautiful Day. The music from Phineas and Ferb always slaps for some weird reason.
It does.
I never saw it. I like heard good things about that show. I never watched it.
I feel like you would like it.
I imagine I would.
Yeah, I feel like you would like the mischief that goes on that show. I'm actually surprised you've never seen Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah, it was in that time when I wasn't really watching Disney Channel and there was a bunch of shows coming out.
I wasn't either, but I had always seen like Phineas and Ferb episodes though. Like I think I own the soundtrack.
So it slaps like that, huh?
Yeah, it slaps, bro.
All right, good to know.
Soundtrack slaps. Plus, I'm a huge fan of Ashley Tisdale. I love her music. So I watched the clip for Such a Beautiful Day before we started recording. There were some points where I was like, why are you like David level like rapping super fast right now? Why is this a thing that we decided to do?
Well, that sounds weird, but I gotta check it out now.
Their music always slaps, and it's always full of mischief and fun, and the cast is really dope. I like Phineas and Ferb. I wasn't like watching it every week, but I feel like even if I don't watch the movie, I'll probably see bits and pieces of it because I have a little brother.
You do. That you do.
The last thing that Disney Plus revealed is releasing, had a panel for, is Marvel 616, a docuseries that covers the history of Marvel Comics through the lens of a series of individual filmmakers. Set to release later this year, Marvel 616 was designed to feel as tonally and thematically different as the vast universe of Marvel Comics. So each filmmaker for the series' 8 episodes could dive into the history of Marvel in their own unique way. So they showed a clip from episode 2, which is Higher, Further, Faster Trailblazing Women of Marvel. The clip focuses on the creation of Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, the first Muslim superhero in Marvel Comics. That episode was directed by Gillian Jacobs, who said she had never finished a comic. So the process of learning Marvel history and falling in love with comics was exciting. And after doing research that went back into the 1920s and the 1930s, she kind of regretted not getting into comics earlier. And then to contrast that, they showed a clip from episode 4 called Lost and Found, which focuses on other Marvel Comics writers' favorite obscure and forgotten heroes. That episode is directed by Paul Scheer, and he is a diehard comic fan and has written a few comics, which is, to contrast to Gillian Jacobs.
Mhm.
Sarah Amos, who is one of the executive producers, wants to reach a vast diversity of Marvel's audience and subject matter with this show. So every episode is going to be like super different from the other.
I like that.
I do too. I think I'm actually going to be really interested in watching this.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because I saw the clip from the Paul Scheer episode, and just the characters they were talking about are so ridiculous.
Typeface, bro.
Yeah, like there's a typeface man who he has letters on his face.
Wow.
And he throws letters at
He
you.
throws letters at people.
I was like, is that a block?
Like they would do anything back in the day and just print it and be like, yeah, why not?
It sounds like peak like camp, like 50s camp.
Yeah, and then the Wizard, which I thought was funny because he's actually in Jessica Jones,
Wait, which one are you?
the one who runs really fast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he
And then there was
he injected himself with mongoose blood, so now he has super speed for some reason.
What?
Because
yeah. That whole episode is just about like super obscure and forgotten characters, which is kind of cool.
I love it.
There was also another one with Dr. Druid.
Yeah, like discount Doctor Strange.
He said bargain basement Doctor Strange.
Yes, exactly.
Is that how they described him?
That's how the guy who is being interviewed described him. Yeah, because they both meet the Ancient One, and according to they both get their powers from the Ancient One or whatever. They both meet him. According to the writer who was talking about him, the difference is that the Ancient One helped this guy with his powers so that he would get out of his face.
Ha!
Yeah, he's like, just go away. Here's some powers. Go.
Please leave.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But also like
Yeah.
this show, or what I've seen of it, because they're talking to different comics writers as well. Like the guy
Yes.
who was talking about Dr. Druid is Gary Duggan, and he wrote like one of my favorite Deadpool runs back in the day. Not that back in the day, like
It was like 2011, I think they said.
I don't know if he went that far. I mean, maybe he started before I started reading him, but like, yeah, sometime
Yeah.
in the last decade.
I don't remember. They had like the years that he was writing for Deadpool written underneath his name. So
Yeah, he wrote with Brian Posehn. But yeah, I'm about it, and I like that they're gonna have different feelings for every episode because you kind of get tired of just the same old people talking about the same old stuff.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what type of topics each director decided to dive into. But yeah, Marvel 616, that looks like fun. But speaking of superheroes,
Superhero.
The Boys is coming back in September.
Oh goodness gracious.
Oh gosh, the boy.
You really could have just said the boys are back, and you didn't.
The boys are back.
Yeah.
The boys are back. Anyway,
The boys are back at home.
season 2, according to the showrunner, is crazier and even more emotional than the first one.
Oh,
The
goodness
boys are now
gracious.
fugitives after season 1, and Homelander is even more out of control.
Somehow.
Yes. The showrunner also said that they try to make it a commentary up to the minute of the world that we live in. So they will be covering things like white supremacy, white nationalism, systemic racism in season 2.
Hmm.
They also like kind of went into like where each character is since season 1 ended or where they are like after that. So season 2 is going to be about Butcher saving his wife after finding her and the moral question that comes with finding her again. Homelander is trying to find himself. Huey is feeling alone and starting to realize what he actually wants and not what other people want him to do.
That's good for Huey.
Yeah, it is. Annie, aka Starlight, is going to step into her own power, and she's forced to adapt with her morals still intact, and builds a wall to sort of protect herself because she's trying to, adapt around all these crazy people. A-Train has to face himself and his rage and negative feelings. We're going to learn why it's so important for him to be a superhero and why he's so driven by his own fears. Mother's Milk is going to continue to try and be the boys' moral compass. The Deep is looking to make a triumphant return to the Seven. And we're finally going to learn about Kimiko's past. Kimiko is the woman who hasn't spoken, I don't think, at all.
Yeah. I think her character's name is the female in the comics.
Yeah, I think they finally gave her a real name, and it's Kimiko.
That's good. It's about time.
And because Kimiko is having, this growth and is, exploring her own past, and I think she's going to start talking this season. We're going to get to learn about Frenchie, and Frenchie is also going to be forced to grow alongside her. And then we're going to get the new character Stormfront, who is very social media savvy, and the actress who plays her said that her storyline is very topical.
Yeah, I saw her in the teaser, trailer, whatever it was. She seems interesting.
The teaser clip that they gave,
Yeah.
there was talk of there being some unlikely character combos that we didn't get like last season. So like this season, like I think they mentioned that Carl Urban has scenes with the girl who plays Starlight.
That's not going to go well.
The showrunner also talked about how the premise of the show, like the thesis, I guess you could say, is that power doesn't always corrupt you. It just reveals the person you've always been.
Which is interesting because so many of these characters are just terrible.
Exactly. They were always terrible, apparently.
I hate A-Train. I hate the Deep. Homelander's the devil.
Homelander is definitely the devil.
Even Butcher isn't like a good person or like a likable character. He's terrible, but he's terrible as the protagonist. So you have to like lesser.
He's terrible
evils,
with a cause.
Yeah, it's like you're terrible, but you're going up against the actual devil, so I can't root against you.
I mean, that's true. I mean, Starlight is a good person. Starlight is like the only. Well, no, that's not true. Starlight, Huey, and Mother's Milk are probably like the only good people. But even then, Mother's Milk is just like, yeah, we want to blow some stuff up. I guess I'm with you.
Yeah, Mother's Milk and Frenchie are like good relative to the rest of their team. But
I know Frenchie's kind of messed up. I only saw like half of an episode.
You only saw half an episode?
Yeah, and Frenchie was being destructive AF. I was like, what is this show?
Well, yeah, he's the blow up guy. He does bombs and such. But as far as his personality goes, he at least cares for the female who gets a name now.
I'm glad that she has a name now. I was getting really annoyed with just calling her the female.
Yeah, that's messed up.
It's a weird comic. It's a very weird comic. Speaking of how the comic is weird, so in the comic, his name is Mother's Milk for a specific reason, but I don't think they're doing that in the show.
I don't remember if
in the
they
show,
ever mentioned in the
he
show.
doesn't have any powers, from what I can tell.
I don't think so. Not that we know of. Maybe they'll reveal it.
Because I feel like they would have brought something up in the first season because all these things are happening. Like, bro, if you got powers, this is the time to use them.
I don't know.
I have a question.
What's your question?
What's his power in the comics?
From what I can tell, just a really big, strong dude. Because his mom worked in a factory that had the compound. She was like exposed to it.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
Compound V, the one that gives everybody powers.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, so he was exposed to that, like, in the womb. and he was born with it. But for that reason, he has a dependency to drink his mother's breast milk,
Oh my god, no.
but like well into adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, they talked about the dependency thing during the panel.
Yeah, I imagine they
I
would.
I I don't they talked about his dependency on the compound. I don't think they mentioned
Oh,
the rest of that.
that's probably better.
Yeah, like they talked about because Laz Alonso was talking about like the situation of his birth. They did not mention the rest of that though.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that they don't do in the show that are just insane from the comics.
Yeah, possibly for good reason. There was also a clip that was shown during the panel. I don't know if you watched it.
I did. It was insane.
The whale one.
Yeah, I was like, come on, guys, really? You're gonna this is what you're gonna do?
They said that it was a practical whale too.
What?
What does that even mean?
Like
They made a whale?
Yes, they built it and
No,
did the
they
whole
got
thing.
one from the ocean. Obviously.
Colin, I'm guessing you didn't watch the clip.
Why would I have
What
done
was
that?
the clip?
Okay.
Oh god, I'm gonna go watch it now.
They made like a practical whale prop or something for them to drive the boat into. Carl Urban was apparently actually driving the boat.
Goodness gracious.
What is his name? Jack Quaid,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yep.
Yeah, I just remember that he's Dennis Quaid's son, so I was like, okay, I know what's his first name. Jack Quaid apparently was getting seasick throughout the entirety of Carl
Aw.
Urban driving.
Poor wee Huey.
They were like, he was the only one not having a good time on set that day.
Yikes.
Oh my god. That's
But yeah,
a real
they let
whale?
Carl Urban drive the boat. I mean,
Not
not
a real
like
whale.
a real whale, but they made a practical prop for them to
Sorry,
drive
it's a
into
real
that
prop.
had
Yes,
Yeah,
it
they
is
had
real. It's there. but
yeah,
It's not an actual
and they
whale.
had stuff in it that would explode on them.
Of course they did, because the show is
Thanks,
insane.
Crawford's
And I'm
in this.
excited for it to come back. Yeah, he's the worst.
Watching that scene, I had to prepare myself because I was like, I don't think I've watched anything as graphic and gory as The Boys in a long time.
It definitely goes there.
And like, I kind of had forgotten how. I'm gonna have to rewatch season 1 too before the show comes back.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do a rewatch.
I was just like, oh yeah, this show's kind of bloody.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't ultimately watch it. I watched that like half of an episode and I was like, you know what? I don't want this in my life right now.
It doesn't seem like your kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't. You know what's funny?
No.
We were talking about mother's milk earlier, and during the panel, they showed a picture of Homelander like sticking his tongue into a bottle of milk and a formula or something.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I'm so excited to see where Homelander's story goes. That man is crazy.
Yeah, because he had his whole little fetish from season 1
Yeah.
regarding that whole thing.
What
Yeah.
fetish?
I'm just gonna say Mother's Milk probably should have been his nickname.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh goodness gracious.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Oh wait, before we
Oh,
move
there's
on
more.
though, during the panel, they did announce that they had been renewed for season 3 before season 2 even came out.
Oh yeah, they did. Very nice.
We're gonna get more of this craziness.
We'll see how much of this we can take until we all just decide
Stop.
it's making
Who's
us
we
worse
all?
people.
It's just me and you, Dallas.
I mean, like the people watching the show.
I see. I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever get tired of it.
Yeah, I like it. It's just I think it's making me a worse person.
Oh no. But continuing on this superhero route, Dallas, I believe you have something you want to talk about.
I do, and I've been talking about it for years. It's the New Mutants at home.
Oh, honey bunny.
Yes. So they had a panel because, of course, they did because they've been trying to put this movie out for 2 years. But yeah, I had Josh Boone, the writer and director, Maisie Williams. She plays Wolfsbane, Anya Taylor-Joy, aka Magic, Charlie Heaton, aka Cannonball. I want to say Alice Braga, but the guy running the panel called her like Alice or something. So her as Dr. Reyes, Blue Hunt, who I think Demi knows from the originals.
Ooh, now I gotta go look her up.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
I was watching the panel. She was like, "Oh, it's on the originals." I was like, "Hey, that sounds like that thing Demi watched." But yeah, she plays Mirage, and Henry Zaga, who plays Sunspot. So pretty much everybody, the whole team's there. I really like the way they started this panel because they show all the release dates that they had
Oh.
getting crossed out.
Oh, she was on the originals. Ooh,
Yeah, she talked about that.
she was evil. She
Yeah,
was
they
the
brought that up
Hollow.
too.
I mean, yeah, she was great on the originals as the Hollow. The Hollow was a very Very interesting concept and character.
And that was a CW show, right?
Yes, it was. Yay, her.
Yeah. She talked about like going from like I think the biggest thing she's done at that point was a CW show and then going to like a major superhero movie. She was like, oh, it's kind of interesting transition.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah,
she
she
looks
did
dope.
6 episodes on the originals, so
She looks pretty dope. But yeah, so the panel starts with every release date they've had getting crossed out, and then it shows a bunch of comments about the delay. Like, glad to know New Mutants will be available for my grandkids. Oh, to have the power of the witch who cursed the New Mutants. I couldn't even vote when this trailer came out. Now I'm 40 and balding. There are only 3 constants in life: death, taxes, and the inevitable delay of the New Mutants. But
are you going to tell them that they're wrong?
my favorite is, did we all just collectively hallucinate the New Mutants? So
We are all in agreement.
they post all that, and then they post the newest release date, which is August 28th. Good luck with that. And then there's a comment that says fingers crossed. So I was like, that's a nice little self-aware way to start your panel. As of now, no announcement for a streaming release. They say August 28th. I don't think that's going to happen because COVID is going hard on
At
America
least in this
specifically.
country. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we are not doing well. But anyway,
We're not doing our part in the group project, or at
No.
least other people aren't. I'm doing my part.
Same.
Yeah, you know. The Floridas and the Texases of the world.
Well, California's leading with the most cases.
Oh,
I
don't
thought it was Florida.
say that. Back to New Mutants. They talked about the inspiration for the movie story, which I didn't know. I was just like, New Mutants, dope. But apparently it's a story arc called The Demon Bear, which I had never seen. But I was interested because the director and writer talked about how he loved that saga growing up because it kind of mixed dark fantasy and horror with superheroes, which is the whole reason I'm excited for this movie in the first place, because now we can actually get a horror movie with X-Men in it. 'Cause I like
You
horror
might have
movies.
to read it before you get to watch it.
I mean, at
To
this point, I
me.
could read it a bunch of times before the movie comes out. But it was
You
cool to
know it
actually,
inside and out.
right? They brought the guy who did that arc in the comics, Bill Sienkiewicz. Yep, I'm gonna say that's how you say his name. He was on the panel and he talked about coming up with the story in the Demon Bear, which is literally a demon bear. It's a big ass bear with glowing red eyes, and it looks terrifying.
I mean, yeah, you can do that in comic books.
Yes, Colin, you like bears? You might like this movie. Anya
That's
Taylor-Joy
not-
talked about playing
That's
magic.
not.
I'm surprised that Colin wasn't laughing at the
That's
the that movie happening at all.
No, I've done that enough.
Have you? Have you though?
I have. It's been years.
Yeah, so everybody was telling their little, stories and experiences about the movie that they started shooting all those years ago.
When Maisie Williams was, still a child.
Yep.
Yeah, she actually talks about the relationship of her character and Mirage, who was played by Blue Hunt from the originals. Apparently, they have a relation. I don't know anything about any of these characters except for magic, but apparently, Wolfsbane and Mirage have a relationship in the comics. And Maisie was saying that it's wonderful to see a relationship like this because, superheroes are typically a very masculine-dominated world. And she was like, just to see these like 2 women protect each other and bring light out of each other was really lovely. And she's happy that the fans are excited for it. But sounds like we're gonna get a cool little love story.
That's beautiful. I would love to see it if it wasn't a horror movie.
Yeah, it's like the way
Right.
she describes it doesn't sound like, what we've seen from the trailer and the clips. But just watch for the lovely love story.
I'm just gonna find those clips online
Yeah.
later.
Find those clips and then avoid the horrifying faces coming out of the wall.
I might brave it
Do
if
it.
it means that I get.
We'll
to
see how I
fall
feel.
in love.
We'll see. The guy who plays Sunspot, Henry Zaga, he talked about how he wanted to look really good for his shirtless scene. So apparently he stopped drinking water for like
No.
24 hours prior to shooting.
Oh yeah, that's what everybody does.
Yes, but
Yeah.
his scene kept getting pushed back, so he didn't drink water for days. And the director, while they were shooting another scene, I guess they're like playing basketball or something, and the director was like, "Yo, are you good? What's wrong with you?" And he was like, "I haven't been drinking water for my scene." He was like, "Go drink some water."
Yeah, I know that that's a thing that actors do, and I wish they wouldn't. Like, it's okay. You don't need to look that great.
Right, like, dude, I'm sure you've been working out, you've been eating right, maybe. Just drink some water, man.
Like Henry Cavill does it too, and we all know how big Henry Cavill is for his work. Like you don't need to. It's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah,
They
you'll be
they
all right.
all do it, and they all have to do it. Otherwise, you don't. So
You
like,
don't. No. You don't have to do it. This is a decision that they are making, and it's not a decision that I think we should be like
well, it's not always,
encouraging.
I guess, but it's not always a decision that they make. And it's not just like actors, like people do it when they compete in bodybuilding and bikini contests. Like it's the way that you will see like the actual abs peeking out, the way that everybody's like likes to see them aesthetically, I guess.
Like I said, I'm not going
Otherwise,
to
we
encourage that
don't.
behavior.
Yeah, let's put a disclaimer
Yeah.
out there that as a podcast, we are not advocating for people not
We're
drinking
not.
water.
I'm not advocating either. I'm just saying like that's the way that you see it, because normally you wouldn't it like only some people will you see like actual definition in abs the way that you know they're advertised on screen. Most people have to do that dehydration thing for them to pop out the way that they appear on screen.
You remember the old days when people didn't care about saying that stuff on screen?
Yeah, it's really dumb. Or like, have
And
you
they
guys
weren't
seen like
allowed to show
shirtless
it on screen.
pictures of like Clint Eastwood and stuff from the 60s? Like, no one had a six pack.
Or like James Dean? Like,
Yeah.
anyway, Dallas.
But
Listen, Henry Zaga, I'm sure that you looked good just the way you were.
He's a good looking
I
cat.
don't know. I guess we'll find out when the movie comes out.
Everybody was saying like, yeah, you look good. You didn't need to, but whatever. Drink water, people. That's our PSA for the day. Drink water. Don't dehydrate yourself.
And wear a mask and stay home.
Yes.
Anyway.
yep, all
Regardless.
those things.
Do all those things so we can go see this freaking movie if it ever comes out. Moving on.
Oh, you're not going to talk about Anya Taylor-Joy?
Oh, did I not talk about how? Yeah, she basically just talked about how she's never. I mean, I guess at the point that they filmed this, she had never played like the aggressive or the bad girl, because she's like split glass. She's like the doe-eyed sweet girl.
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen most.
I was like,
Yeah, I haven't
Dark
seen.
Crystal. Yeah.
And in Emma, she played an English lady.
Yeah, so she was saying that like Magic was the first character she's played that ever like stomped into a room.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
I am interested in seeing Magic is like the person I'm most intrigued by from all the trailers and stuff like that. She seems really cool.
What did you think of the opening that they released? Because obviously I didn't watch it.
I thought it was cool. It's not scary. It kind of throws you right into the action, but in a that kind of we don't know what the situation is exactly. There's some fear. There's some thrills. I think it's going to be fun, but I think I'm going to be more interested when the whole team gets together.
That's always
The new
the best
teaser
part
was
of the
dope, though.
movie.
Yeah.
You said the new teaser was dope?
Yeah, there's like a teaser that shows a whole lot, to be honest, but I didn't mind it.
At this point, you haven't seen the movie. So like,
All right, I might as well just see a bunch of clips, try to put together a movie.
who knows when you'll be able to see it.
I'm so sad. Gabby, Bill and Ted, tell us about it.
Yay. Okay, so I watched the Bill and Ted was it called Panel?
Yeah, it's a panel.
You can kind of tell the plot by just the trailer very easily. So they didn't really get into the plot too much. They got more into like the impact culturally that Bill and Ted made, the way that the characters came about, because the cool thing about all three movies is they were all written by the same people. So they got the original writers to come on board, which is really cool. And they talked about how they originally came up with Bill and Ted. So the origins of Bill and Ted were like discussed by the writers, and was one of the most interesting things about it to me, because it turns out that the writers used to just kind of do a bit with each other as friends, where one of them played a guy named Bill and the other one played a guy named Ted, and they would just go back and forth. So Chris Matheson, his father is Richard Matheson, who wrote I Am Legend and a lot of episodes of The Twilight Zone and Last Man on Earth, like a bunch of like kind of classic sci-fi and horror.
Interesting.
Like he's that screenwriter. His father like saw their like kind of sketch and was like, you can make this into a whole movie. And they were like, oh my God, we should. And so they did.
Nice.
But because they're writers, they're not involved in the casting process. And they talked about how, they were waiting at this McDonald's and there was these two dudes in front of them just talking to each other. And they were like, who would be perfect for Bill and Ted? Like those two guys. Little did they know that those two guys were Keanu Reeves and and Alex Winter, who had already been cast as Bill and Ted.
Oh, nice. That's perfect.
Yeah, so it's like serendipitous. They talked about how this movie came to be made during the panel, which was basically like 10 years ago. They all were having dinner and the writers proposed this idea for this movie. And then it's just kind of been 10 years of like trying to get support to have it made. And then eventually they got it and they're done. And part of it is that they bring in Bill and Ted's daughters, and they're played by Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy Payne.
Is Samara Weaving?
That's the one from Ready or Not. She's
Okay.
the one who kind of looks like Margot Robbie.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Is she ready or not?
Yeah,
Cool.
and also apparently she's related to Hugo Weaving.
Oh,
His
I
niece.
believe it.
that makes sense.
Anyway, so it's kind of talking about the impact that Bill and Ted made originally, how this third movie got to be made, the audition process for Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy Payne, and then there was like it was interspersed with clips from the trailer, so nothing new. The panel was led by Kevin Smith, who kind of geeked out a lot.
Perfect.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Which was great. He asked really great questions, which is why I thought it was interesting. I think they just didn't really want to, like, the trailer already kind of covers what the movie's about. It's about, the same people that always come down to talk to Bill and Ted, come down, tell them that their daughters write this amazing song that like saves the earth or whatever, and that they have to get them to write it and then like cue adventure, right? It was a really nice panel. I learned a lot about Bill and Ted that I didn't know. But in terms of like new stuff, not really much new stuff of like in terms of the movie. No new clips, nothing like that.
But they are releasing the film, like September 1st on premium video on demand?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, so people can now watch it from home instead of waiting for it to come out in theaters.
Yeah.
I feel like
Well, it says it's going to be released in theaters and on video on demand.
So you can still just stay at home and watch it instead of going to the movie theaters.
yes, they won't be open anyway.
At least not in the US.
Most of them
True.
won't be.
Not here.
They're closing in other countries again.
Huh.
Some of them, not. Yeah, I don't remember which countries they are though. The New Mutants and Bill and Ted are the only like movies that we have on here. Everything else is a TV show.
Oh yeah, because
Oh, and I guess Phineas and Ferb.
oh true, Phineas and Ferb the movie.
Yeah,
The movie.
that's the thing. But next up on our list is Hellstrom, which is finally being released. Hulu's Hellstrom. They started the panel touching on the real world issues of the moment. So they spent quite a few minutes talking about Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, like what's been going on. And then afterwards they they transitioned. They showed the first teaser of the show, which was the cast's first time seeing any of the footage from the show. So that was pretty cool. I'm not into horror, as I've said, but I think I'm going to watch this show. It looks pretty interesting.
It does look pretty interesting.
Yeah. Development of the show started with wanting to explore the darker side of the Marvel Universe, and the show is based on the son of Satan, but it's more reality based, and it's more of a story about family and not just Damon. For those who don't know, Damon Hellstrom is the main character of the show. The show will also show us how Damon, played by Tom Austin, and Anna, played by Sydney Lemon, live apart before they reunite and how they compare and contrast. According to the actors, they have a very dangerous and vulnerable dynamic, and they're plagued by their traumatic history. They respond to very differently to their trauma, but they both want the same things. Victoria, played by Elizabeth Marvel, who is their mother, loves them, but she's been taken control. She's been taken over by something that she can't control. And the actress said that they kind of tell that story through kind of like the lens of addiction, like a metaphor for addiction.
Right.
So like how parents who are addicted to drugs or addicted to alcohol, how that affects their children and how that affects them, because an addiction is something that you cannot control. So I think that's pretty interesting. Then there's Caretaker, who is played by Robert Wisdom, which I found his last name to be interesting for a character named Caretaker.
Yeah, they got a Wisdom. They have a Marvel. Like they got some great names for this show.
Exactly. But the description that Robert Wisdom gave was rather cryptic. They're trying not to give away too many spoilers, but he seems to be helping one of the characters rebuild themselves when we meet him, and he and two others on the show create like this like powerful supernatural or magical triangle or something like that. I didn't quite understand, and I don't think I will until I watch the show, obviously.
Makes sense.
And then there's Gabriella, played by Ariana Guerra. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I probably didn't. She works with Damon, and their relationship starts off somewhat antagonistic, but they've got the same goal. They just have different methodologies. She's far more religious and rational than Damon is.
Mm.
There's a Dr. Hastings, played by June Carroll. She has somewhat of a maternal relationship with Damon, and she seems to be unprepared for the situations and the things that Damon is bringing into her life. And then there's Chris, who is played by Elaine Yu. He's close to Anna. They met in foster care as kids, and they share a path of healing, and they help each other to survive. So those are the characters that they introduced us to. That's basically what they spent most of the panel doing, is just kind of introducing the characters that are going to be the stars of the show. And the showrunner promised that there are going to be plenty of Easter eggs from the comics in the show. So if you are a comic fan of Hellstrom, keep a lookout for that. I found it pretty interesting. This is the first Marvel show that does not have the Marvel heading above it.
Ooh.
Oh wow.
It doesn't say Marvel's Hellstrom, even though if you look it up on IMDb, it is Marvel's Hellstrom. It doesn't have the Marvel symbol above it. There is no, like most Marvel shows have like the Marvel production logo in front of it. Didn't have that for the teaser either.
Yeah, I didn't know what it
Interesting.
was when you first talked about it
Yeah.
because I had never heard of it.
Yeah, it's one of the Hulu shows that Marvel was doing before Marvel TV got shut down.
Yeah, apparently there was I guess this like series of shows they were calling Adventure into Fear, which is like their spooky horror-ish, I guess, collection of shows. Like Ghost Rider was going to be part of it, but then that's not
They canceled Ghost
happening
Rider.
anymore, unfortunately. So I don't know if they're still doing Adventure into Fear, like if it's just Hellstrom and they're going to try
No, I
more.
doubt they are. I think Hellstrom's the only one that survived the Marvel
Sucks.
TV thing.
Oh, that sucks. But yeah, it looks interesting. Definitely going to try it. I like Marvel. I like horror things. Also, apparently, one of their parents, probably the mom, is a serial killer.
Probably the mom, because I'm pretty sure their dad's the devil.
Yeah. So
What?
it has some prodigal son aspects for you to me.
I don't know, because she's out here doing a very creepy voice, and
Oh yeah, she's
that,
serial killer.
that's not prodigal son at all. That's like Silence of the Lamb, something else.
It kind of like, I feel like it's kind of like Prodigal Son / Silence of the Lambs meets
Then
Reaper.
again, Prodigal Son, okay, yeah, Prodigal Son does take from Silence of the Lambs quite a bit. So,
Yeah, see?
hey.
Boom. Serial killers. And Gabby loves serial killers. So Gabby,
I
you might like
don't
it
love serial killers.
too. Gabby,
Um,
you're all about
I'm
the serial killer.
horrifically fascinated by them, but I don't love them.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, the show looks interesting. I spent the whole panel going, why do I know the girl who plays Anna? That's so weird. And then I realized it's because she did I told you guys about Actors for a Cause, which have been like reading scripts and plays and stuff during the
Yes.
quarantine. She was in the Pride and Prejudice one, which is the first one that I watched. So
Ooh.
Nice.
yeah, she played Charlotte Lucas.
Aww.
So I was like, oh, that's why you look familiar. I only saw you in that one quarantine thing, and yet I remembered your face. She's got a very distinctive face. And I think
Another-
the haircut kind of helps.
I can see that. Another interesting thing about Hellstrom is that they changed her character's name. In the comics, her name is Satana, for obvious reasons. She's a demon.
You know what?
Half demon.
Maybe that's still her name. Her name is Anna.
Well, I think
Maybe
they
it's
said in the show they like renamed her Anna, but maybe
Oh, okay.
maybe they might do like I know your real name, Satana.
That's your nickname because, of course, you don't want anybody to call you what your real name is.
You don't want to be going around named Satana in regular life. But yeah,
Absolutely not.
sounds interesting. I'm into it.
There is something for everybody, including what the next show that you're going to talk about.
Yes. Colin, are you still here?
In spirit.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Colin likes this show. Next panel is Zoom into Zadia, the Dragon Prince, at home.
Dragon Prince.
Yes, Gabby likes this show too. Jimmy, did you ever watch this show?
No.
Dang it. We were almost 4 for 4. Watch it. I think you'd like it. So The panel members were Aaron. I don't know how to say his last name, and he didn't say it, so I'm not going to say it. And Justin Richmond. They are the co-creators of the show. Paula Burrows, who plays Rayla. Jack DeSena, who plays Callum, also Sokka. Sasha Rogen, who plays King Ezrin. Eric Todd Dellums, who plays Erebos and has the greatest voice in TV right now. Raquel Belmonte, who plays Claudia. Jesse Inokalia, who plays Soren. And Jason Simpson, who plays Viren. This was a very packed panel. It was like 10 people, 9 people, however many people I just said. But yeah, it was cute. It was like, it's like the kind of panel I guess you would do for a kids show. Like the Zoom call starts with all the actors in character.
Aw.
Yeah. So Jack DeSena is Callum, the main character, and he's talking to the actress who plays his little brother. And then she's chastising him for not social distancing because he's with Rayla. It's a whole thing. But yeah, it was cute. They all talked about what they were doing since quarantine started. Apparently, Jack DeSena had a baby like right when quarantine started, like in March.
Wow.
So congrats to him. I knew nothing of that man's life. But Dragon Prince as a show, they're doing a lot apparently, like stuff I didn't know. First off, they got renewed for like the entire saga, which is great because Netflix has this habit of canceling shows that I like. I'm still mad about them for The Get Down and Daredevil and Luke Cage. And maybe,
Sense8.
right?
Oh,
Sense8.
Sense8.
Maybe Mindhunter, depending on what David Fincher is going to do with his future. I don't know. I'll reserve judgment on Mindhunter, but I hope they bring it back. But anyway, they were like, nah, we're not going to do that to the Dragon Prince fans. You get the whole saga, which apparently is like through season 7. So they just finished 3 and they were like, you know what? Here's 4 more. Do your thing. I'm hyped. I love the show. It's one of my favorite shows. I need more of it. And now I'm going to get at least 4 more seasons. Oh, it was also really cool because apparently the guy who created it, Aaron, he told the cast on this panel that they got renewed for the whole saga. So I guess he was the only one who knew. So he told them and they all like freaked out about it on their webcams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was real cute. They all yelled at him for not telling them.
That's amazing.
Right? Like that's the best way you get to share with all your fans at home. There's a graphic novel coming out, which is pretty dope. It's apparently canon to the story and it picks up exactly where season 3 left off. It's coming out in October. It's called The Dragon Prince Through the Moon. I'm probably
Hey, it comes out the day before my birthday.
Yes, it does. But I can't get it for you for your birthday because you don't watch the show and you probably wouldn't care about the graphic novel.
I mean, you could, and I could just probably try and watch the show before then. I do have a friend who wants to watch the show. It'll go on my list after Legend of Korra.
Is it the friend that you watch all your stuff with?
It is.
So I've heard that doesn't always work out for you. Like,
It works out depending on what the show is.
okay.
She's the one who wants to watch this one. I'm not the one who's suggesting it. So this one would probably work out.
Okay, good. Because like on your own, you go through shows very efficiently.
Oh, I've gone through like 3 shows in the past week.
See, exactly. I feel like you could knock this show out by the next time we talk if you really wanted to.
If I did. But I'm waiting for Legends of Korra first.
Fair. But anyway, yeah, they're doing a bunch of stuff. They have an art book coming out in August, The Art of the Dragon Prince, which comes out a few days before my birthday. Hint, hint for the 3 of you on this microphone.
Got it.
Also,
We'll see how's that going to work because are you going to get 3 copies of it? Like we're going to have to talk.
No,
amongst
we all
ourselves
pitch
and talk
in to
about
buy
it.
one.
that works too.
We all pitch in to buy one.
Oh, if it's like an art
Mm.
book, those things are expensive. They're like $60. So
Boom.
They are
yeah,
hella
let's pitch
expensive.
in.
Each of you drops a little dub and we got it. Or I got it because it's my birthday. Anyway, they're also releasing a tabletop RPG, which is called The Dragon Prince Tales of Zadia.
See, so I'll probably watch the show before that happens because I'm intrigued by the fact that there's going to be a tabletop RPG.
Yeah, they're doing
That's
everything.
perfect for
They got
that.
art books, graphic novels, tabletop RPGs.
And now that I'm super
Oh my
getting into
goodness.
D&D, like,
Exactly. Oh, I think
Yeah.
you would like this. The cast did like a D&D sketch where they played D&D as their characters for a little bit.
oh, that's dope.
Yeah, until one of the antagonist characters just got tired of it and he was the dungeon master. And then he was like, enough. A dragon came and all your characters are dead.
Aww.
I'm like, I can't even say, I can't like do a death saving throw. You just going to kill me like that? Dang, bro.
He was like, I'm tired of it. This is it. But yeah, it was a sweet panel. I love this show. And I'm so glad that we're getting all these different things about it and that we get to get the whole show. And Demi, I think you should watch it. Gabby, you should finish it. Because I think, did you finish season? Where were you, Gabby?
I'm still on season 1. Don't
Okay.
judge me.
No, I would never judge you.
Not everybody watches shows as fast as I do, Gabby. It's
True.
okay.
It takes me forever to watch shows.
Yeah, same.
I inhale my content. injected into my veins.
I had like really wanted to like gotten into like an Andy Samberg mood, so I just started working my way through a bunch of Andy Samberg stuff, and I've like managed to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine in like 2 weeks.
Nice. Did you watch the Bash Brothers thing again?
No, I forgot about that one. Oh,
I love that. It's so stupid.
it's so random.
Anyway, yeah, that's Dragon Prince. I love it. All of you should watch it. It's great. My birthday is right after that art book comes out. Just letting everybody know. And moving on.
Got you, fam.
Thank you.
Moving on to another show that Colin happens to like, but probably won't say anything about either.
I really thought, I was like, look, it's been forever. Colin hasn't said anything, but I was like, Dragon Prince. That's going to be the one that gets Colin to say
Nope.
something. And he didn't. And I was like, that's it.
That's it, fam.
I think our last one might.
Maybe. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what
But
happens.
yeah, Motherland, Fort Salem. I love this show. And the only reason I started watching this show is because Colin was the one who recommended it to me.
Oh, wow.
And since he recommended it to me, I've watched it twice. And I'm currently halfway through watching it for a third time.
Well, all right.
Yes. But I'll talk more about that and give my review of it when we do our quarantine watch again. But
Nice.
for this panel that they did, Elliot Lawrence, who is the creator and showrunner, says that the writers, I'm going to try and make sure I don't spoil it for people who have never seen the show because they are teasing for the second season. And I do want to recommend it for people to actually watch.
Fair.
But they did say that they didn't know who the main antagonist would be who they are in season 1 until like later on in the season as they were writing it. Season 2 will take us into a spree cell and show us how they operate and how they're changing. And Rael's going to have a lot of conflict when she finally confronts the plot twist at the end of season 1. For those who have never seen the show, the spree are the terrorist group of the show. Taylor Hickson, who plays Rael, says that she freaked out, but she also somewhat suspected the plot twist at the end of the show. She imagines that Rael will be angry about the situation, but also how it's revealed to her may impact her reaction to it. Amalia Holmes, who plays Scylla, was shocked at the fan love that she received as the character because the character is, her introduction is sketch, but she gives some credit to Taylor's work as Rael for helping the audience sympathize with Scylla. The show really wants to embrace the gray areas of morality and stuff like that, especially with General Alder. Jessica Sutton, who plays Tally, my favorite character, she says that Tally's final act was a necessity of the moment. Tally is maturing and slowly chipping away at her naivete. Tally is learning that your morality is deciding in the moment, and that comes with compromise and sacrifice. Season 2 will continue to explore the question of what is necessary force and what is justifiable. And the writers are enjoying writing the Biddy connection to Alder, which will haunt Tally in season 2, though no spoilers on how they plan to solve that problem, which me and Colin have discussed in depth before.
Man, the concept of Colin discussing something in depth seems so foreign right now.
Oh, doesn't it though?
Stop it, guys. He'll chime in when he wants to.
It's a podcast.
I know, but the three of us do talk a lot. I just don't want to pick on Colin.
Too late. Ashley Nicole Williams talks about Abigail's turnaround throughout season 1, from being really self-centered to being fully about her unit. She thinks Abigail will continue on this path, especially with Abigail and Rael currently being inseparable. Demetria McKinney, who plays Anacostia Quartermain, says that she initially viewed Anacostia as kind of like the straight arrow, like everything is kind of black and white to her, but now she sees her character as sort of a mixture of all the other characters. She thinks Anacostia has learned how to let go of some things that she's learned and sift through what she's taken in. She doesn't want to be someone's tool. The fandom has a nickname for her character, which is Mama Costia, because her character is basically kind of the mama. And she praises Elliot Lawrence's writing and the character dynamics within the show. Elliot Lawrence teased at Anacostia and Scylla's relationship in season 2 because Anacostia isn't ready to quite throw away Scylla yet, but also has a strategy on dealing with the spree, which is cool because Demetria and Amalia met in the audition waiting room. So like they've been through this entire journey together, and their season as characters kind of ends together. And then Lynn Renee, who plays General Alder, said that she was somewhat disappointed at not meeting like the cast during auditions, but later on she like thought it really helped her performance with the other actors because it created sort of a separation between her and the other actors and the other characters that's kind of necessary for her character and the others. I think that's kind of cool. The showrunner also teased that the new antagonist in season 2 makes the spree look small. They're a pretty old antagonist that were active during Alder's days, and they caused the Inquisition. They're just genuinely awful and genocidal. And there is a possibility of a sort of enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of deal coming into play within the season.
Interesting.
Okay.
They had some pretty good discussions too about like the kind of how the show breaks the status quo, things like how they represent or how they present female sexuality within the show, because the showrunner said that he didn't want to create a space where women were problematized for having sexual desires because they're human beings. So it's normal. I want to say everybody on the panel was a woman except for him. So there was a lot of discussion about that. And then he got into, there were fan questions where he talked about some of the world building things that the show didn't really go into. Somebody asked about mother tongue, which is a language on the show. He says that within that universe, the witches were the first to use language, and they were the ones who taught the world to speak. So mother tongue is the root human language, which is why their power, their magical ability is in their linguistics.
It's called mother tongue.
Yes.
I feel like between mother's milk and mother tongue, we have a weird theme going today.
Motherland, mother's milk, mother tongue, all of it.
It's a lot of
I
mother.
have a
But
question
yeah,
about the mother tongue. Did they have like a linguist make that language, or do they use it?
yeah, no, the cast is like super excited to actually get to learn the language because Lynn is the only one who knows it so far. And so she says that it's beautiful and difficult. The language was created by David Peterson, who also created several of the Game of Thrones languages.
Oh, perfect. He knows what he's doing then.
Yeah. So she said that she would learn how to say things. And then the dialect coach would be like, okay, but what are you saying? So I'm like, oh, I guess he's like really trying to get you to like actually understand the emotion behind what you're saying and not just like having you pronounce it phonetically, which is kind of cool. And then they talked about the witch father, who is the male witches leader. And that led to the cast also starting to ask questions about the universe that they're in. Elliot Lawrence says that there will be more male witches at War College in season 2, to which everybody started teasing about how much fun the character Abigail would have.
Why?
Because Abigail is not shy, to put it simply.
She likes to use her mother tongue.
Uh-huh. No. She likes other people to use their tongue on her.
Ooh. Oh, never mind.
There's an episode where she has a threesome, so
Ooh, fun.
she ain't afraid. And then the final thing was a fan asked if it was a conscious decision for them to not portray racism and homophobia and things like that on the show, which he said it was actually a conscious decision not to do that, and kind of explained that due to women being in power within this universe, it's such a common thing, and it was for centuries, that the tide shifted faster towards feminism. But their world still isn't perfect. The world outside of the military bubble is probably closer to our world than it is to the world that we've been seeing on the show. So season 2 will explore like the bigotry towards witches. And then there was more conversation about how the show breaks the status quo. I thought it was a really good panel because it was like a good tease for what's going to happen in season 2 when we finally get season 2, but also a lot of conversation about the world building, but also how they're breaking the status quo and how they're doing things differently than other shows. Because I remember watching the first episode and being really astounded by the fact that there were no leading men anywhere in that episode.
Wow.
Men don't play a big role in this universe until like episode 3 or 4. I think it's 3.
Wow.
I think that was really impressive. I'm looking forward to season 2. I will give my review of the show. Obviously, I've said that I love the show, which is why I watched the panel. But I will talk more about the show and what it is when we do our next quarantine watch.
Very nice.
Our final show for this Comic-Con recap is Lovecraft Country, which
Speaking
is
of
probably probably my most anticipated show right now.
It looks very interesting.
The day before the show came out, they released a trailer so that people could get an idea of what's going down with this show. The trailer's fire as hell. During the panel, they talked a lot about like who these different characters are, what the show is about. So the show is about Atticus Black, who goes looking for his missing father with the help of his uncle and best friend, and they come across monsters both real and Lovecraftian along the way. Courtney B. Vance plays George Black, who is the uncle. He's described as being a jack of all trades. In the show, he's currently writing a green book, and his wife wants to join him on his travels. His wife is played by Anjanae Ellis, who I've loved since Undercover Brother.
Wait, who is she?
Sister Girl.
Nice. I love it.
I love her. She's great. They, when discussing her character, they talked about how her character is probably even more gifted than her husband, like more skilled or whatever. But because she's a woman, because of the time period that they're living in, like he doesn't want her going with him on his travels and stuff as he's writing this green book. They also talked about the portrayal of black love between those two characters
Very nice.
and how it's kind of a departure and it's very nice to see on television. Letitia Lewis, played by Journey Smollett, I love her, has just returned home. She's a photographer and she's also very much estranged from her family. Letty is a disruptor looking for family. Her sister Ruby sees her as a fuck up, as Journey said, but Ruby is a maternal figure to Letty because their mother wasn't particularly good in that aspect. And then we have our protagonist, Atticus Black, played by Jonathan Majors, who is an adventurous soldier and a bibliophile, which is what Jonathan Majors described him as. They talked about how the show gets to explore archetypes that Black actors usually don't get to play on screen. And Jonathan Majors said that he read the script twice back to back when he first read it because he was surprised that this show was going to be following a Black protagonist because it's so not something that we're used to seeing Black actors get to play. Like his character seems like the type of guy who's like it says, he's a bibliophile. In the trailer, he's asked what he's reading. There's a sneak peek clip that they showed where he makes a reference to Journey to the Center of the Earth. Like he's into like sci-fi and fantasy, and I feel like I don't think I'm the only one who feels this way because it seems that Jonathan Majors feels the same way. It's not something that we usually get to see Black actors portray as characters.
Right.
Christina Braithwaite, played by Abby Lee, who is probably most well known for Mad Max Fury Road, is the only daughter of a leader of a secret order called the Sons of Adam. Abby Lee describes her as the Karen of the show.
Oh boy.
To quote Abby Lee, she says that Christina is the ultimate provocateur, agent of chaos. She represents the oppressed 1950s woman liberating herself from the patriarchy with her white privilege. She is meant to be the antagonist of the show, obviously. Her father is being played by Tony Goldwyn, who I love because he's Tarzan and because he was on Scandal. Super looking forward to seeing him play a bad guy because his character on Scandal, in my opinion, was a bad guy. But that's just me.
Well, he's like Tarzan we grew up with.
Yeah,
No.
he's Disney's Tarzan.
Oh, nice.
What?
The moderator also brought up how the show kind of balances Black pain with Black joy. And Jonathan Majors talked about that it felt very natural to who Black people are, the way that we deal with pain and the way that we, try and find the joy in certain situations, how we can make things funny and stuff like that. Majors said that the cast is very much a family and he still has a hard time calling the rest of the cast by their actual names. Like he still calls them by their character names, apparently.
He's in it.
Yeah, he's in it. He's in it. But they also discussed how timely the show is in our current social climate, despite the show taking place during the civil rights era. There was also a conversation about the silliness and the technical aspects of working with green screens and visual effects because a lot of them haven't had to work with those things before. And at the end of the panel, they showed a sneak peek clip, which was very cool, in my opinion. It was weird. Like I was watching it. Did you guys watch that clip?
I watched
No,
the
not
trailer.
yet.
I didn't watch the clip.
There's a part in the clip where like it's so cool. It's like it's straight up out of like one of those adventure movies where like you have to be somewhere at the right time at the right place. The moon has to shine on something, which is going to shine against something else, which is going to open up a doorway. Like it's one of those things.
Nice.
But like it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm so used to not seeing Black people get to have that sort of adventure experience on screen.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, when the light hit something in particular, it did like this cool little CGI thing had to come up on like a plaque or a screen or something, but the CGI just looked so good. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, there's budget. And I knew that there was budget because it's an HBO show. But like I've seen trailers or like shows where it's mostly like, predominantly Black people and supernatural experiences. There are not many of them, but they don't usually have the budget that this show has. So it was just so cool to get to see that on screen.
Yeah.
I was telling my dad about this show and it might have to become like our new like Game of Thrones thing where we watch it every Sunday together. I'm so excited about this show now.
Nice. It sounds pretty dope.
I mean, I didn't think I was going to be interested in it because horror.
Yeah, I'm into monsters and horror and all that fun stuff. I just, whenever I hear the name Lovecraft, I just, ugh. But the show itself seems very interesting. H.P. Lovecraft is just trash.
I mean, yeah, but that's why somebody wrote this book to turn his trashness on its head.
Yeah, and now we get an HBO show out of it.
We do, and it's an HBO show with a dope cast. Yeah, no, once I saw that trailer, I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm actually excited about this show.
Maybe this can be your gateway into horror.
Nah, I doubt it. Because it feels more like a Stranger Things for adults than like something else that I wouldn't want to watch. I don't know.
You got to start somewhere to me. It's the baby steps.
Oh, was Stranger Things the first step? Was that the baby step?
Sure.
Why not?
Why not?
The trailer was fire, and I've watched it several times since it came out. And the song on the trailer is fire.
What song did they use again?
It's called Shadow by, I want to say that his name is pronounced Amir Obe.
Okay. Cool.
Amirobe. It's called Shadow, and it's dope.
Very nice. Very nice.
That's all we've got for today.
Yep, we did it. We did Comic-Con at home. At home.
Woo.
Thank you, audience, for listening to all of that. Let us know what you're most excited about from Comic-Con at home.
Let us know what panels you guys watched that maybe we didn't catch, because there were a lot of them.
I watched a couple that I didn't bring to the podcast because it was kind of just people talking on the Zoom call. And I was like, we don't need to cover that.
There's no information being provided here.
Right, like this isn't helping me. I'm not going to.
I did the same thing. I watched the Charlize Theron one, and that was really interesting.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see that one.
That one was cool, because I didn't realize that she had really become this iconic action star in the span of 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, her action career kind of started with Mad Max Fury Road. Like, she had done other action movies, but she didn't do them a lot. She didn't become like action star Charlize Theron until Mad Max Fury Road. And that was 2015.
That's so interesting because I guess it's just like a first impression thing. Because when I first noticed her, it was in Eon Flux or whatever that movie's called.
Yeah, but that movie did so horribly that she didn't get to do many action roles after it.
Yeah, that's just the interesting thing is because like I've always thought of her as an action because I was like, oh yeah, that's Eon Flux from like 15 years ago. I didn't watch the movie, and apparently many people didn't. But it's just interesting that she really took off 10 years after that happened.
Yeah, because she's done, like she was in Hancock, and she was in The Italian Job too, and she talked about that. But she also talked about how after Aeon Flux, she didn't really get to do action until Mad Max Fury Road. And since then, she's like literally become like she's almost Keanu Reeves status of action star.
So interesting. Funny how things.
Because with the last 5 years, she's had Mad Max Fury Road. She was in the Fast and Furious movies. She's got Atomic Blonde. She did The Old Guard.
Yeah, she's been busy. Kubo and the Two Strings.
Like her action resume has just been growing in the last 5 years.
Well, shout out to her.
She's dope. But anyway, yeah, that was an interesting panel.
Speaking of people who are dope, thank you, Crown Digital, Brandon, and Io for putting us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To me, you're also dope. Thank you for editing this whole thing and providing most of our content today because you wrote most of these notes and you said most of the stuff.
I said most of the stuff because I wrote most of it.
Exactly. Shout out to you for that. Thank you, Gabby, for covering Bill and Ted for us because I didn't know anything about that. Like, I knew it was coming out, but that was all I had. So thanks. Thanks for bringing that in.
Thank you, Gabby, so much because I was afraid that you weren't going to watch it in time to actually do the notes.
Oh, yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, she watched it. You ain't got to worry. Back to you, audience. If you want to talk to us about Comic-Con or superhero shows or witches or mother tongues and all that fun stuff.
Or children's shows, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Phineas and Ferb, Dragon Prince, all that fun stuff. You can find us on the medias. We're on Twitter at y'all_different. We're on Instagram and Tumblr at Creative Differences Podcast. We're on Facebook. Just search for Creative Differences. If you want to talk to me personally about the Dragon Prince and where you can send that book that you're going to get me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at A King Named Simba.
You can find me, Gabby, on Instagram at Segosoria.
You can find me on Twitter at Duck McGuck.
Because you can't find him on this podcast. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dreamy Films. Dreamy is spelled DREEMI. Thanks again for joining us.
It's been different. At home.